Hello and welcome to the big picture. Even as we witness some unprecedented awareness sweeping across the youths in urban India over the last few weeks, we are also witnessing at the same time voices which can only be dubbed misogynistic and retrograde. Leaders of the society like the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat's statements about the traditional role for a woman as a wife and caretaker of her husband, spiritual leader Asaram Bapu making the shocking statement that the gang rape victim of Delhi should have begged with her assaulters and called them brothers. A Madhya Pradesh minister stating that if a woman crosses the limits, she will be punished. While Congress MP Abhijit Mukherjee's dented and painted women seeking 2 minutes of fame, among others, clearly depicts the mindsets of a section of the society which refuses to accept the modern women in her new role. Why is this section of the society refusing to look beyond the conventional stereotype of a woman? Is what we are witnessing on the streets of our cities only an urban phenomenon? Is majority of the people of this country comfortable with the existing social order? Is the acceptance of the change in roles of men and women in a modern society still a far cry in this country? We will discuss all this today while asking the question whether we are caught in a time warp when it comes to women and their stereotypes. To discuss this, I have with me Prof.Anand Kumar of the Center for the Study of Social Systems at the JNU, Neena Vyas, veteran journalist, Professor Jagdish Shettigar, member of the BJP National Executive and also a leading RSS member, and Madhu Kishwar, a social activist and a powerful voice on social issues. Welcome to all of you. Professor Shettigar, I'll come to you. These kind of statements which are coming up nowadays, but from the RSS chief also, especially the RSS chief, because he represents an organization which is seen across the country, which is seen as a very major social organization. For him to make this kind of statements, does it reflect the mindset of the organization itself, or is it just the mindset of the man?
No, without going into any individual comment, all that I would like to say that it reflects what you call the sick mindset of the society. I mean, we should blame, we are all responsible for that. I would like to add that, whoever the person may be, whether he is a religious leader or the social leader or the political leader, he can succeed in leading only when he is able to read the pulse of the society. I think the leaders who are making the so-called leaders making, the comments, I think somewhere there is a disconnection between the socio-economic development which has been taking place. Now all that is required in the what we call the development which have taken place. Today, for the women to come out is a compulsion. So whoever the leader who had made I think that it's a keeping even in the socio-economic development of the past. But today, for women to come out of whether it's in the IT sector, or I would say that even, in some sectors like the women or the girls going to even the bars dancer, it is a socio-economic compulsion. It is not that they would like to come out and somebody advising that, the freedom, just because we got the freedom at the midnight, it doesn't mean that the women have got the freedom to come out. It is not that they would like to enjoy. And left to us, all of us individually, we advise our girls in the family not to go out. But if there is a compulsion for a girl to go out, it is the responsibility of the society to create a safe environment so that one can go out and earn a bread. It is not a luxury for a woman to go out. It is a socio-economic compulsion.
Professor Shettigar, I really appreciate that you have taken this stand despite belonging to an organization of the chief of whom has made such statements. Now let me get Madhu Kishwar in on this. Madhu, it's very interesting, Professor Jagdish Shettigar belonging to the RSS, he has taken a very clear stand saying that these are all sick mindsets. But I am on a larger issue. Are we still in a state where the society still doesn't accept women in her new role?
Firstly, I'm really surprised that you should be discussing a statement which most TV channels have already accepted was out of context pick. He was saying the very contrary of what they presented. They've withdrawn it. and you're still discussing it.
No,
I
today-
do not like
Madhu, 1 second. You are talking about the earlier statement which he had made. I am talking of the latest statement which has appeared in today's newspapers. Yesterday, there has been no withdrawal of that statement. He has said, if I will read it out for your benefit, a husband and wife are involved in a contract under which the husband has said that you should take care of my house and I will
No,
take care of
he
all
didn't.
your needs. I will keep you safe, so the husband follows the contract terms. Till the time the wife follows the contract, the husband stays with her. If the wife violates the contract, he can disown her. This is the
Please
statement.
understand, it was explained that he was making a sarcastic comment at what he thinks is the Western form of marriage. This was a sarcastic comment. It's taken out of context. The next statement says, in India, we think marriage is a sacrament. We don't treat marriage as a trade-in and a contract. Why are you flogging a dead horse?
Okay, so Madhu, you think that there is nothing wrong in the society, everything is hunky
No,
dory as
I'm
far
not
as women
saying
is
that.
concerned?
Why are you putting words in my mouth?
I'm
I
asking,
didn't say that.
I am not talking only of, in any case, I don't think that he has withdrawn this statement, but there are other people
But
who have
they-
made these
to-
statements. Asaram Bapu has made a statement. There has been a statement from a Madhya Pradesh minister, a Congress MP, a CPIM MP. These are all which in the last 1 week or two, we have been seeing these kind of statements repeatedly being made from different parts of the country. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm saying, why not go by the reality of the changing status of women in this country? On the one hand, we have horrible things like declining sex ratio, which shows a growing culture of son preference. On the other hand, in the same India, the kind of investment families, even poor families, are making in their daughters' education. I remember when I was a student in Delhi University, if a girl didn't get accommodation in a reputed hostel of the university, she couldn't ever come to Delhi to study. Today, parents of very modest incomes are sending their girls to study in Delhi from small towns of Orissa, from Manipur, from Assam, from Bihar, from faraway places at great personal cost. They're cutting into their own expenditure in order to give the best possible education they can to their daughters. How many girls are coming from small towns of India to Delhi to work in call centers, to take on night shift jobs? Even in the so-called patriarchal Haryana, it's producing the largest number of women policemen, the largest number of women sportswomen, including kabaddi and wrestlers. Now, society is moving so much faster than the rhetoric of feminists who are battling it, and maybe our political leaders, they let their mindset be betrayed by silly off-the-cuff remarks.
Okay.
But society is not heeding them.
Okay.
So why are we worried?
Okay. I'll come back to you. Prof.Anand Kumar, we need not be worried. Why are we worried?
Well, we are worried because we are moving in different directions. There are paradoxical situations. The policymakers have an attitude of benign neglect towards the challenges which are being faced by women today in India in their quest for their individuality,
Right.
for their identity, for their dignity and for their safety. We think that as it is being presented, we are a modernizing society, democratizing society. There are advances if you look at education, if you look at politics, if you look at bureaucracy, science, technology, management, business. I mean, you can really say that yes, glass is getting filled drop by drop. But on the other hand, what we are missing is the historical opportunity
Right.
of changing ourselves fast enough to keep pace with the expectations of women. If it takes 65 years and still the capital of India is not safe for a woman who is dressed properly, who is with a man, who is in the heart of the city, who is not going for any frivolous activity, looking only for public transport to go home, and he still gets murdered and raped.
And at a very decent time also.
Yes, then I think we want the women of India to wait for another 650 years, which they are not prepared. Now, if you feel relaxed and comfortable with this pace of changes, changes are there, nobody can deny it, but they are not critical enough. significant enough. And at this point of time, I think it is also not being accepted by women and men of 21st century India.
And what about the statements which you hear about this kind of
Well,
stereotyping?
these statements are deep,
stereotypes.
pure thoughts of some of these noble men and maybe some women also who think that women do need Lakshman Rekha. There are others who think that now men need Sita Rekha. There is no need of Lakshman now. There is need of Sita and Draupadi to stand and ask the history and the tradition to do justice with them, for which we have been remembering them again and again for last several centuries and thousands of years. Secondly, some of these men are really honest enough, be it the son of the president who has landed up in the parliament, be it these Bapus and Ammas who are there with millions of people following them because they think that there is a connect between them and the spiritual tradition of India,
right.
Or be it some of these great cultural revival organization leaders. I think they are misleaders. And that is the situation where I think there is also going to be new disenchantment. There's already enough disenchantment with policymakers, politicians, police and judiciary. The next round of disenchantment is going to be with these people who are not seeking power, but they really matter.
They really matter. Neena, these are people who really matter. They have thousands, or some of them have millions of followers. And when somebody like that speaks in this tone, it also affects their followers,
Yes,
isn't
it does. Yes, it does. But I'm not at all surprised that these kind of statements have come from, say, an Asaram Bapu and others, or even from Mohan Bhagwat. Well, whatever Madhu Kishwar, whether he said this way or that way, whatever exactly he said.
No, he has not withdrawn the statement.
The point is that there is a mindset, and we may glorify our ancient past, and by all means we have a lot of things to be proud about. But let us also not minimize the fact that the position of women was very low indeed. She might have been placed as a kind of a Devi or ornamental thing. But whether you take Sati, whether you take Johar, now female infanticide, look at the position of widows. Girl who was widowed at the age of 5 had to, the way she had to spend the rest of her life. The position of women was really bad. And even you quote what was the position of Sita? What was the position of Sita? What was Draupadi? She had 5 husbands and her husbands gambled her away in an open court. Duryodhan is a bad man according to the whole epic. But what about Yudhishthir who gambled away his wife? Who's called Dharmraj? Now the point is we have to come to terms, every tradition. After all, what was Ram Mohan Roy fighting against? So it's an old, when the Hindu Marriage Act was passed even by Parliament in the initial days after independence, there was huge opposition within the Congress party and within you see there is a huge anti-woman tradition. Let's not forget it, and let's not minimize that. And it will take, society has moved much faster, and always the mindset takes much longer to change, because there are vested interests, the patriarchal interests of the male, now that patriarchal interest is also the male as well as the caste system, which is hierarchical, it is part of that whole setup, and it will take a long time. We may have banished untouchability, we have said do away with dowry, do away with child marriage, but these practices will continue.
Professor Shettigar, since you belong to the organization, first let's also understand. Let's try to understand that when people speak like this, there are a lot of people who believe and accept what they are saying, right? When they speak of women having to have a certain limits and things like that, these are common talk which we also hear among people, friends, or out there in the open. It is not that they are just they are alone in what they are saying. Do you agree?
No, instead of discussing or debating a particular statement or the organization, let us accept
that I'm
this
talking
is
of the general thing.
General mindset of the society, which needs to be changed.
Right.
And that is possible only when we empower the women. Women should be treated as equal human being like any man. And I think that is possible. And economically, it is Now it has been forecast that they are going to, the bigger, what they call the empower themselves. They will be the decision makers world over. But as far as the other, who has to take a decision? Under our system, it is a parliament. And still we have been what you call the debating about the 1/3 reservation. I said, why 1/3 reservation? If there is, the equally divided, it's almost a 50-50. Why can't there be 50-50? Say, unless you empower the women in terms of the decision making, now we are talking about the strong law. It is not the law. There is sufficient laws are there. Its question is only implementation.
Absolutely.
Now whether it is the police or even the judiciary or the political master, there is an implementation stage. We don't implement it. So that is why I said, at that stage, implementation stage, you empower the women by giving the equal representation. Then everything will take care of itself.
I don't know. We need to go into a short break. We'll come back and discuss it. These are interesting issues. These are very important issues. The fact that the women's reservation bill has been hanging fire for the last over a decade, clearly, is because of this kind of mindset which is there, which is obviously blocking that bill also. We'll go into a short break now. Please keep watching. We'll be back very soon. Welcome back. We are discussing the stereotyping of women in this country and asking the question, are we still caught in a time warp? Madhu, Professor Shettigar made some interesting points. He said it is the law needs to be changed. There is a socio-economic development has taken place, but it is not, the society is moving faster. You also made that thing. But the fact of the matter is still a majority of the people in the society would rather agree with what Asaram Bapu is saying or Mohan Bhagwat is supposed to have said. Don't you agree with that? We are still a way behind as far as catching up on these things are concerned.
I can stick my neck out that if you were to take an opinion poll among the followers of Asaram Bapu, and look at their own lives and whether they are educating their daughters or not, you will find that that's not the case. Please understand, our society is moving much faster than any of your TV anchors, including this present panel. We're just doing excessive breast beating. For example, yes, things are bad in terms of law and order, and that there is a sense of insecurity, but at the same time, today there are more women in the city of Delhi going out to pubs, going out for late night parties, socializing with each other than they did 20 years ago. Now, if you spread excessive panic, I think you do more harm than good. This is no way to express your concern for society and use women to fire your guns at, whatever political party in power. Just keep things in proportion. Look at the number of women that are out on the streets right now. You will know that the reality is far ahead of what's being discussed in TV studios.
Madhu, the point is not, it's not a political issue. We're discussing a social problem
I'm
here.
also discussing a social issue. I'm
Neena.
just saying don't over panic.
Okay.
You are creating needless panic.
Okay.
And
Neena.
I think it's doing more harm for women than good.
Okay, Neena wants to react to this.
I don't want to create panic. I agree with Madhu there that that there is no question of creating panic, and so that fathers and others in the patriarchal setup or husbands will tell their women, now you cannot go after dark, after 6 o'clock, you cannot step out, it's dark in Delhi after 6 o'clock. No, the question is, no doubt, one of the major unsung revolutions that have taken place in India since 1947 is the women's revolution.
Right.
Every glass ceiling has been broken. They join the armed services, they are joining the police, they are engineers,
you were one of the first women journalists.
I was one of the first to become journalism, and lot of my friends, you know, and
Yes.
my not my father, but other people around us, uncles and others, were saying, what kind of a profession is she joining?
Yeah.
She'll have to work, same thing, she'll have to work late, she'll be coming home at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So what I'm trying to say, forget that, the women have broken a lot of ceilings, and I'm sure in the days to come they will break many more ceilings. We've had one of the early countries where we had a prime minister,
Who was
Indira
the
Gandhi,
woman? Yeah.
and I remember some people making snide comment that she's a widow, and Indira Gandhi, she will bring bad luck to this country because she's a widow, because of all these mindsets that, you know, widow should not
Retrograde
be
mindsets.
anywhere near any auspicious occasion, not even she should not watch even her son's wedding, because her shadow is considered inauspicious. So what I'm trying, but at the same time, the Asaram Bapus and many other so-called godmen and religious
Spiritual leaders.
they are way behind, and they have a following, and their word is sometimes taken as a gospel truth by many people. So there I don't agree with Madhu Kishwar that Asaram saying or Mohan Bhagwat saying will have no effect on their following of these people. It does have a following. They do have a big following, and they are keeping the country in a. How many godmen have been caught for smuggling and for doing all kinds of things?
Absolutely.
I mean, no questions have been asked. Even Sai Baba, how much gold was found after he died of Puttapurti? What has happened to that case? Nobody knows. Nobody knows how that gold and silver and jewelry all came there.
Prof.Anand Kumar, you know, do you think that, you know, we as a society, as a, you know, is there a urban rural divide on these issues? Do you see that happening?
Actually, there is a greater crisis in urban India. Really, cities like Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida, who are the gainers of liberalization, are yet to settle with the norms for collective living, be it man and woman, rich and poor, educated, uneducated, middle class, working class. So there is internal gradation also, you know, between Bombay and Delhi, between Calcutta and Chennai. That's one problem. The other problem is rural India. Rural India is yet to be frontally challenged, as it was on the question of untouchability under the leadership of Ambedkar's and Gandhi's. On gender question, we do have a cultural lag, a political lag, because there is dominant caste.
Right.
There is caste-gender equation. There is not only Khap Panchayat scenario, there is a dominant caste scenario where the women of lower classes and lower caste, so-called lower caste, are commodity, are an object of gratification for people, younger people. The lumpen part of their personality is taken for granted. It's
Right.
non-issue. And there is no preparedness for social policing. Our police system, coming out of the womb of colonial memories, is having preparedness for political crime and economic crime, but not for social crime. So whether it is question of gender violence, caste violence, communalism, on all three fronts it fails. And that's much more pronounced in rural India. So my point is that there are certain areas where we can wait and be gratified that we are a transitional society. What West or others have achieved in 300 years, we can't do it in 60 years, all right. But there are areas where there is zero tolerance. And that zero tolerance includes violence against women, discrimination against women, whether it is verbal or actual. And people like Vijay Varghese, and people like, I don't want to name them because I think my mind gets really distorted.
Polluted.
It's not polluted, but I become afraid that these are the leaders. If these are the leaders, those who are being led by them are really at God's mercy. No, we have zero tolerance on certain questions, and that includes gender justice and equality of man and woman.
What about Madhu's point that, you know, we are creating a panic by discussing these things?
I
You know,
think
we should not.
Madhuji may have a point about panic, no panic, targeting politicians in power, but I'm afraid. I live in Delhi for 22 years. I belong to a family where there are young women. I want them to go out and have their individuality and freedom, but I cannot subconsciously, I cannot unconsciously, because if something happens to her, if what happened to Damini, I don't know where to go. So this is not panic, this is fear. You may be panicking or not panicking, but I'm afraid. And for fear, there is no solution except security.
I will mention to you
Neena-
one girl who was interviewed on television, and she was asked during this whole episode of this ghastly, horrendous
rape.
incident. She was asked that she said that she works in Delhi, but she lives in Ghaziabad, and every day she commutes with the metro and so on. So the reporter asked her, "Are you not afraid?" She was probably not afraid. She's saying, but you know, now I'm panicking, now I'm afraid. So there is a point. You cannot create this fear psychosis and prevent people from going out altogether. I mean, how many people have stopped driving cars because, you know, there are 150,000 people who die in car accidents every day. You can't say, I will not cross the road because I may be the next pedestrian who will get run down. People have got to live their lives. And I also would like to add, on many fronts, women got it on a platter in India. We got the vote at the time of independence. We got equal pay, at least on paper, and a lot of laws, Hindu Marriage Act, you know, monogamy was brought in and so on. So we got many things on the platter. And many other things we have to fight for.
Okay.
And without a struggle,
Madhu,
you are not going to get through the very strongly entrenched feudal and patriarchal system which has vested interest.
Madhu, last words to you.
Hello.
Yeah, Madhu, last words
I
to you.
can't hear. Connect, khatam
Madhu?
ho gaya.
Okay, we'll see if we can. Sir, Professor Shettigar, you know, there is a huge responsibility on these leaders who are making these kind of statements and things like that. As organizations, do you think there is some correctives can be brought in, or where does organizations like RSS or even you know, organizations like the spiritual gurus and things like that, where do we start this process of them accepting the new modern woman?
So I would like to say that the moment leader gets disconnected with the society, and there is a danger of their losing their followers. So in their own interest, whoever it may be.
Do you really think that can happen?
I mean, it is bound to happen. If I belong to a certain organization, whether it is Asaram or somebody else, now the moment my leader or the so-called religious leader says something, if I feel that he is speaking something, I mean, I feel that he's an odd person, then I refuse to accept him as my leader. So it is in their own interest. That is why in the beginning I said, whether it's a social leader or the religious or the political leader, his success depends on how he is connected with the society or effective in reading the pulse of the society.
Okay.
Girish, can I just add
Yeah,
something?
very quickly.
Because you see, the thing is, while this is the future which Jagdish is talking about, but at the moment I'm afraid, both among a large number of women and definitely a large number of men, the mindset has not changed. And those leaders, what they're articulating reflects the general mindset.
Madhu, last words to you very quickly, just 30 seconds. Do you think that mindsets, what Neena just said, the mindsets have not changed among a lot of people, and that is reflected by the kind of statements they are making?
I'm sorry, the India I live in is changing very fast. I personally don't find it oppressive. I find it a very enriching, supportive society. It's a way of engagement. If you know how to engage with people, including those who today may differ with you, I think India is one of the healthiest societies that way. It listens, it's open-minded, and for God's sake, I think I'm reminded of my mother saying कि मक्खी हमेशा गंद पे जाके बैठती है. We forever picking the bad things. We never look at and never celebrate the good parts of India, and there's plenty to celebrate.
Okay, Madhu. On that positive note, as far as you're concerned, there is a lot of positivism happening in this country, but there are also, as other panelists in the studio said, that there are very serious problems which still we are all facing as far as stereotyping of women and how we look at women in this country is concerned. Thanks to all my guests, Madhu, Kishwar, Professor Jagdish, Shettigar, Neena, Vyas, and Prof.Anand, Kumar. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue on the big picture, same time tomorrow.